Row crop farmers, farmland owners, and beginning farmers are increasingly curious about soil health. Integrating grazing ruminants ramps up soil health, and the feed value of cover crops can often offset the added cost of planting them. Livestock can also utilize a small grain in rotation or perennials planted on more marginal row crop fields. This video is one in a series through the Minnesota Institute for Sustainable Agriculture's Endowed Chair in Agricultural Systems. Bryan and Jessie Simon, with their children Charlie and Annella, own and manage Lakeside Prairie Farm near Barret, Minnesota. They raise grass-finished cattle on pastures, hay, and restored prairie, as well as goats in their 150-year-old oak savanna woodlot. A previous owner rented the tillable but marginal acres on the shores of Cormorant Lake for corn, soybeans, and wheat. After renting for several years, in 2017 the Simons were able to purchase the farm. They talk about the joys and challenges of raising and marketing grass-fed cattle as they apply their environmental science backgrounds to restore the ecology of this land.
Well, we got really lucky. We met a wonderful couple, Joe and Syliva Luetmer, at the SFA annual conference and got connected with them, and they were looking to get some beginning farmers started, and we were looking to start farming, and that's how we got here.
I grew up in a town, both of us did, but living out in the country is wonderful, and it's a great place to raise our kids, and we like that an awful lot. So I'm a teacher too, and so farming and teaching work well with each other seasonally.
Started out doing a lot of different things. We raised vegetables and did oats and wheat and eggs and meat chickens, pigs. Our primary enterprise has always been grass-fed beef, and we are also doing goats. We have brush goats.
What's changed and what do you observe now?
Well, when we got here, this was corn over there and beans right here. Mm-hmm. Soil was eroded on the hilltops. It was not. There wasn't much aggregation. You could see erosion spots. It was compacted in areas. Just typical tilled soil. Mm-hmm. Yep. We've seen much better aggregation, water infiltration. The color is better. It smells better. We don't see erosion anymore. The whole farm has been converted to perennials, and what sets us apart from other grass-fed producers is that a lot of the farm has been converted to native prairie. So like 100 different species of native plants have been planted right here in this spot, and right there too. Yeah.
It's great to be in a diverse habitat. We definitely notice seasonal changes, different bird life throughout their life cycle. Find nesting birds around out in the prairie, and our kids even notice the difference in the prairie bloom at the different times of the year. So that's something that we really enjoy, and it's fun to be able to raise kids here and hear them walk around and identifying different plants and birds and things that they wouldn't know and experience if we weren't out in a place like this.
How do you manage your rotational grazing system?
Right next to you can see where I hay normally, but I also graze, especially later in the season. I'll hay both sides here in the early part of the year, and then when the grass isn't growing quite as quickly, then I need more forage, so I graze it. Mostly Angus, but there's some Hereford, there's some Jersey, there's some I think there's one Murray Grey. Okay, so what we did here is we moved. This was one of our daily move where we use a temporary electric wire There's a poly wire right in front of the cattle there. We move that ahead and then take up the one in the back so they come forward. I have permanent high tensile electric fence on the sides, and we just move that one wire, and that keeps the cows in.
And they know what to do. They're pretty well trained and know exactly what to do.
What are obstacles to the wider adoption of grass-finished cattle enterprises?
I was describing about how the grasslands need grazers, and so the whole ecology of moving cattle and having cattle on the landscape, that's solid. Like the ecology is solid, but the moving cows that's easy. In our experience, the hardest part of this whole business is the marketing and selling and dealing with, finding customers, getting the butcher dates, and it's the marketing side of, that's the biggest challenge. And that the fact that foreign grass-fed beef out competes us on a dollar to dollar basis, that they like New Zealand and Argentina, Australia can produce grass-fed beef cheaper than what we can for. I would gladly pay somebody else to do the marketing for us, and so we could just focus on raising quality beef and let somebody else who's better at marketing to do that work. So.
That's definitely been a self-taught skill, all of the marketing and everything, and often it's there's more pressing things like, well, the cows need water right now, or need a new pasture set up right now, and so the marketing sometimes happens at 10:30 at night after a full day of work, and so that's another piece to balance too. But yeah, the marketing is the hardest part to fit in and do well.
How important are connections with neighbors?
It works out really well, where I have some neighbors that plant wheat and they get a cover crop in after their wheat, and then I set up temporary fence around their fields and have a bunch of forage and graze into December. I have middle of December that way.
Yep, local connections have been very helpful, especially we have wonderful neighbors, and that's very helpful, and folks that'll be willing to help out if we have an equipment breakdown and need to swap equipment or something like that. So it takes time to build those relationships, but that's been really important for us too, and we're grateful for good neighbors and good local connections.
How do you use goats on your farm?
Right, so you use the goats to get rid of our buckthorn. So this is kind of an oak savanna region on the farm, and then over time it's been completely encroached by buckthorn, as well as some other native trees, hackberry, box elder, ash, that normally wouldn't be here, but without the existence of grazing animals and fire, these trees invade on the savanna and the prairie.
Oh, I love it. They're definitely a good working animal, because we can't be out here with the chainsaw all the time, and so they're just out here doing the job, and they save us a ton of work just by doing what they do, just by working with what they want to eat and how their life cycle. We had solid wall of buckthorn in here, and it's amazing to be able to see through and have a pasture that we can use for livestock. The cows sometimes are in this part too. Just better help the biodiversity of our farm without having that buckthorn choking everything out. It's great.
Do we need grazing livestock for the health of land and food?
I think there needs to be. Eventually, not having the livestock on the land the system isn't gonna work anymore. Like all the effort that we have to put in, the energy that we have to put into that system to prop it up, whether that's through fossil fuel use or pesticides, that system I don't think is going to work in the long run. And so if we want to keep producing food in the long run, which I think we do, we need to have an ecosystem-based ag system.
Farming's a big job, and it's not an easy one to get into, but it's a life that we love and hope we can keep doing.